Is the dig agency a scam? Are their leads everything Dave makes them out to be? Is the training really that great? What's their training like anyway? And what are the chances that you can pay the dig agency $1,000 and with enough time, effort, and skin in the game, as he likes to say, actually start earning a decent income? And it's all using their free lead system. The answer, it's very, very slim. I'm going to answer these questions and more today. And if you hear me tapping my nails or snapping my fingers, that's because this is an ASMR channel and I'm neurodivergent. So doing this and that helps me focus. Now I'm going to tap my nails on this book, which I have not read. Currently, I'm reading The Mustache by Carrere. It's crazy. By the way, if this is your first time here, hello and welcome to my channel. I make raw, rhythmic ASMR videos, confessional style content, and bedtime stories, all while showing off my naturally long nails. The color purple here was brought to you by Nazelia. So let's begin. Is the dig agency a scam? I joined Dig earlier this year, okay? I do want to say right away that this is my opinion only based on my experience of having worked there for several months. But I started there earlier this year. FYI, this is my opinion only. So I joined Dig earlier this year, and like many sales reps, I thrived. I thrived during the first and second month, but like so many others, after 3 months, I became disillusioned, demoralized, and disappointed. In this video, I'll also share side conversations I had with other sales reps. So yes, this video also includes the experiences of other sales reps whom I became friends with and who have also expressed lots of disappointment with the dig agency. Also, want to know what's interesting? When I search, is the dig agency a scam? I couldn't find anything on YouTube. I know so many people who think that it was just not worth it. So disgruntled. There's people who are very disgruntled. So I know a lot about SEO. I think that the dig agency is controlling the narrative so that when you do search something that's relevant to it, his videos will come up. So just give it a try and you'll see that it's mostly his videos that pop up. So if you see that with anyone else, it could be a sign that they're controlling the narrative or trying to. So I thrived at Dig for the first month and the second month actually, but like so many others, after 3 months, I became disillusioned, demoralized, and disappointed. I'll share these side conversations that I had with other sales reps. I'll even read this email from a top sales rep. He was killing it. And then he just left. And in his email, he called the system frustratingly complex, counterproductive, and a waste of time. I'm pretty sure that by the end of this video, you'll find the information super helpful. So please consider subscribing. It will really help me out. And maybe I'll create more videos like this, more content like this. So before joining the dig agency, I have to tell you, I did my homework. I sat on this decision for 2 months while I also studied, for the exam. And during that time, while I sat on the decision, should I give Dave $1,000? I did so much research. I watched so many of Dave's videos. I watched other people's videos as well. And I even joined a different agency where they didn't make you pay to call their leads. No $1,000 charge. They just trained you and urged you to recruit others to become sales reps like you. It gave me MLM vibes. And the training there was also subpar. And the sales tactic that they use, maybe you know who I'm referring to, but I'm not going to tell you who. But they also use the sales tactic called bait and switch, meaning they'll call you for one thing and then switch it over so that they can sell you something. And that felt dishonest to me. So when I read the script that Dig uses, I like that it was straightforward. After seeing some of Dave's sales reps use that same script on YouTube, I was sold. Now, Dave often said that a system designed for your success is one where you don't have to worry about the leads. Like, just focus on selling. Let the agency take care of the leads. Sure, you'll also share a commission with them, but it's worth it so that you can focus on selling. And like, that made sense to me. And I was super excited to join his agency. So I've been watching videos on his channel as well. Maybe you found this to be true too. Is that there's no negative comments on his videos. Okay, and I would always go all the way down. I couldn't find anything. And then on Reddit, I couldn't find anything truly alarming. But every business has bad reviews, right? I found one or two not so positive comments, and I thought, you know what? Some people just aren't willing to put in the work. And I'm not gonna be one of those people. So I made sales, okay? They put me on that top sales campaign. If I had heard someone say what I'm about to share with you, I probably would have gone in a different way. As I said, this is my experience only. And yes, I'll be sharing a few stories from other reps who also got frustrated. I worked my butt off and I put in the time. In the end, I agree with my friend that the system at Dig is complex, counterproductive, and just a waste of time, especially if you are experienced in sales. Definitely not good for you. But if you are super good in sales and you have lots of experience, then there might be a chance for you. Well, I'll circle back to that at the end of this video. Now, when you go on Glassdoor, you'll find a lot of negative reviews about the Dig agency. I didn't see that at the beginning of the year, did not. And I agree with almost all of them. So share a comment from Glassdoor below and tell me which one stood out to you the most. Okay, to join the Dig agency, you pay Dave $1,000. It's non-refundable. You also have to buy 10 to 12 state licenses. I ended up spending over $4,000 to join the Dig agency. That doesn't include the cost of the pre-licensee course or the exam, which I passed on the first try, thank goodness. Then, surprise, a few months ago, the Dig agency cut their license requirements in half, making it easier for people to join. Okay, let me just explain. When you purchase a license in other states, it costs $100 to $50. Okay, could be maybe a little bit more in some other states. So when you buy 12, it adds up. On top of that, you have to pay the Dig agency $1,000. But he cut the license requirements in half. Now, I don't know if you need to pay the other 6 licenses later. Of course, the more licenses you have, the more leads you'll get. But still, it's like, that makes it easier for you to join and for you to give them their $1,000. Part of me feels like that's all they're after. I'm pretty sure they're after good sales reps too. But anyways, Dave insists that $1,000 is to cover their top-notch training and their coaches. I'll tell you where their coaches are from in a moment. Now, the truth is that this training is subpar. Now, here's what you actually get for your money. You get access to the Dig agency's video library where you will meet Tim, okay? Me personally, I liked him. He's a sales coach, pretty sure he's licensed, and he walks you through the script and objections in his videos, and also like how to use the dialer, the CRM, whatnot. His teaching style is very cutthroat. Again, my opinion, and I'm gonna tell you about my friend Ralph. He joined the same time that I did. He used to be a K through 12 educator, and he hated Tim. He was like, that's not how you talk to people. I'm an educator, and that's not how you talk to people when you teach them. And I was like, but Ralph, we're not in high school. So I actually liked Tim's cutthroat, straight to the point approach. I liked him, but I know that he didn't like him, and I know other people didn't like him as well. And when I reached out to him, he did respond. It wasn't like right away. Sometimes it would be like a couple of days, but he did respond. But I didn't push it myself because I know he's busy, right? And I like the guy. But I don't know if I were to keep reaching out, I don't know if he would have kept answering. Besides, he had these coaches, and I'll get to that in a moment. All right, the training is self-paced. The videos You can watch them in under 2 weeks. The most helpful parts about the videos, I'll say, is when you listen to actual sales reps in their calls. And there are about 4 of them. And each sales rep has maybe a dozen videos. So I recommend that when you listen to them, figure out soon who you like the most and write what you like about them and what you copy and add to your style. Okay. Tim kind of recommended that to me and it worked. And also definitely stick to the script. The more you stick to the script, the more success you'll have. All right. But here's what newbies complain the most about. There's a lot of outdated information in the training. That's one. And it just didn't make sense for a lot of people. And for me, it's like, okay, why this doesn't connect? And you'll find that. And 2, there are a lot of broken links. So every week they would onboard more sales reps. Jesus Christ, so many people could just throw $1,000 like that, right, and then leave. And then they would come. They would also share the same complaints, like this link is broken, this link is broken. Okay. Jesus Christ, just freaking fix it, right? Just fix it. They probably did by now. It's been a few months, but it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't fix it. Now, when you finish the training videos, what do you do next? Well, you are assigned a trainer. Okay, that sounds pretty exciting. You go into the Slack channel, you said, hey, who's my trainer? Well, there's only 2. And they're probably, it looks like they're overworked. But don't get your hopes up, okay? You have... So I'm going to call these trainers Eva and Marco. Eva and Marco, it actually was a guy and a woman. You have to fight for their attention. Let me tell you about Eva and Marco. They live in the Philippines and they're Filipino. Okay? I have nothing against that. But unlike you and I, they don't have... I'm pretty sure that they don't have a license, the same license that we have from the United States. It's not the same. Now you're told to send them your call recordings via Slack, DM for feedback. And in the beginning, yes, Eva, right? She would respond within 24 hours. And that motivated me. And no wonder I got so many sales that first month. However, my friend Laura, who joined around the same time as I did, and actually she made a sale before I did, I was surprised. She said, oh, Eva never responds to any of my DMs. She never responded. I'm like, maybe she's just not seeing them. I said, text Mark. And Marco was a lot better at responding to DMs. But Laura, I'm going to call her Laura, her complaint was that this was in the beginning. And then later on, finally, she got to them. She's like, oh, guess what? She finally answered to me. She finally answered my DMs. But it's too late anyway because her advice is irrelevant. A lot of other things happen, and then she just found the answer herself. And eventually the same thing happened to me, right? It was like after a month, I would send Eva a message. I would be like, okay, here's my recording. Can you please tell me where exactly I lost a cell? And what she would usually do is, it's like a week later, she'd say, hey, I saw your messages. I will respond tomorrow. And then she wouldn't respond for several days. And then finally she would say, hey, I'm going to get to this by the end of today. And then she just would not answer. That's what happened to me several times. And one time she said, she even said she was busy training the top sales reps. Like, really? I paid $1,000 for you to tell me this? It was super rude. Now, these coaches also lead weekly training calls. Now, let me tell you about what happened at one of these meetings, okay? And this is why I stopped joining them. Like when they started doing them, I was like, oh, cool, I should do that. But I'm too busy being on the dialer. And then when I finally made time for that, I might have gone to like 3. And then here's what made me stop. Now, even though the trainers were not licensed, yeah, they gave good feedback. But during one Zoom call, one of the sales reps, like me, he expressed that he was feeling like he was just cold calling because everyone he called swore left and right that they never filled out a form, that they never asked for more information about the insurance. The same thing started happening to me where it felt like I was cold calling. And there was a time in my life where I did have a job where I cold called, and I know what that feels like. So when another rep during that meeting expressed that same concern, he even pressed Eva about whether these were truly warm leads. She dodged the question and said this: just sell it. Just sell it. So after that, a few of us agreed that something felt off. And one of the biggest reasons I joined it was because Dave promised, he said that the leads were warm, good quality leads. But here's Eva dodging the question and telling us to just sell it. So by my 3rd month, most of the leads I called were annoyed and just confused. To be fair, whenever I did make a sale, I'd get some fresh leads that looked like they had just filled out the form, and yeah, I would make the sale. And that's how the system works. When you make a sale, you get better leads. No complaints about that. Let me tell you about GI leads. A lot of the leads that you get when you just start out are GI. It stands for guaranteed issue, which means that for the people who would purchase the policy, they are so sick, maybe they're under deathbed, that the only way for the insurer to accept their money, is if they waited for 2 years before the policy kicked in. Hey, it makes sense, right? You have kidney failure, you've been smoking like a chimney for half of your life. Oh, you quit 10 years ago, good for you. But you still have emphysema and whatnot. And for these reasons, here's a 2-year wait policy. Okay, people don't like that. It's really hard to sell to GI. First of all, they tend to pay between like around the 40 range in my experience. I've sold policies where they paid $100 for a month, so that your APR is $1,200, and you get 10% of that. And it's not bad if the conversation was 20 minutes long, just made like $120, right? But here's the thing about GI leads. They're the worst leads. No offense. And by the way, when you on the dialer, when you hang up, there's several buttons that you can press on the left side. Sold, not answered. One of them, it says GI garbage, something like that. But it's mean, it's mean. Like, these are people. You don't call them that. I'm glad I got that off my chest. They're hard to sell because even if you do sell them a policy, they accept it reluctantly. And sooner or later, they're going to turn on the TV and they're going to see someone that says, pay $100 and you get first day coverage. And they'll call the number and then they'll buy something that they have no idea what they bought. Or some other agency will call them because, a lot of insurance agencies are calling them and sell them something else, probably something worse. In my humble opinion, I think that when they cancel, they'll get something worse. Now, when they cancel, You owe the insurance company back the commission that you made. It's called a chargeback. Here's what sucks. Every single GI policy that I sold, they all canceled me. They all canceled their policy within 3 months. All of them. They pay 10% commission on GI. Maybe it changed, right? There are some agencies that don't even have GI leads. I know Johnny Knit a Fan, they don't do GI leads. And if I had known that, if I had understood what a GI lead is, no offense to them, I was always happy that I could get them coverage, even though they cancel on me, and then I owe them money. Yeah, if I understood how they work, and known that Johnny Knit a Fan or some other agencies don't do GI leads, I would have gone that way. Okay, but you need to sell those in order to prove yourself. Now at Dig, when you make a sell, that triggers the dialer, which he talks so much. And by the way, of course, also made me want to join the agency. When you make a sell, that triggers the dialer to give you better leads. The system forces newbies to prove themselves with old recycled leads first. And once you prove that you can sell and you make a lot of sales, as I did, Tim will send you a pre-recorded message inviting you to a weekend campaign where that is only reserved for top sales reps. This is an opportunity. Sounds great, right? It can make you or break you. So hear me out. To show you what this is like, I'm going to share with you that email that I mentioned earlier. My friend Lorenzo, he was killing it. He had already been there maybe a couple of weeks before I had joined, and he was in the meetings giving great advice. And then one day he just disappeared, but his Slack channel was still active. And I would be like, hey, Lorenzo, how come you're not selling? He would be like, I'm just not feeling good. I'm like, okay, it's been 2 weeks. Third week. No, yeah, I'm just not feeling well. I'm like, come on, Lorenzo, here's my email. Tell me what's up. And here's what he said. Yes, I am doing well. The reason for this is probably a disappointment with the system and dynamics of elevation through their ranks to get actual leads. At least this is my particular issue. I have been selling for more than a decade, telesales, health insurance, so I know my way around the dialer. The issue here is that Dig requires you to spend a lot of time with very bad leads. Low contact leads are actually tougher than high intent leads. So I would rather put an experienced agent on old leads and new agents on the newer leads. So for me to go up, I have to first play along with the low end leads and not get a lot of contact time. So my contact rate is lower. Fine, that's part of the expectation. But after you are invited to a weekend campaign which is a terrible testing ground, weekends are usually quite unstable. If you don't get to a particular percentage of closing, it will drop you again to start from scratch over and over again. I did 2 weekends. One was quite bad, had connection issues. I nonetheless did good, but had a lot of hangups and voicemails at first, especially on Sunday, messing up the close rate. I was at 0.98 and they want 1 or 2% close rate. Nobody else had that during that week anyhow, but that meant that I had to start over again for not making it. Second weekend was even worse. Nobody was picking up at all. Only a single sale was made, not mine. So obviously, if nobody picks up before anybody, it ends up being a bad weekend and wasted again. Now back down to scratch. I just find it wasteful. And on top of that, since you can't really make that many sales in the first month on those bad leads, you don't recoup the $1,000 that you made to start with. I did exactly 10 sales that first month, but I lost 2 due to bad pay information. So because they didn't go through, I didn't get the bonus slash money, etc. So all in all, I find the system frustratingly complex and counterproductive, making me waste a lot of time for not much of a reward at this point. This being the case, I would rather continue building my health insurance biz. Want to be clear that this is just my personal experience. It may be the case that I am an outlier and for everyone else that method works, but I just don't like it. And I don't have time to waste for low production leads. One of the carriers, which sells GI, they pay nothing. We have to sell it at a lower entry rookie level to prove you can sell. Sorry for the long email, but wanted to give you a proper answer. Yours, Lorenzo. I also want to say that everything I'm sharing this video is all my experience. And my experience has been very much in line with Lorenzo's. So here's what happened. I was excited. I went on the weekend campaign. It was during a holiday. I cleared out my schedule. I told my family I want to do this, and they supported me. Okay, missed out on birthday party. Well, during that weekend campaign, nobody picked up because everybody was out enjoying their 3-day weekend, and it was a different vibe. At least on Sundays when someone would pick up, they would yell at you and be like, "We're going to church. You gotta be kidding." Ooh, you better get used to that. Even when you get warm leads, you're gonna get people yelling at you. So when I got put on that testing ground, yeah, I did not make a single sale that weekend. After that weekend, everything went downhill. I sat in front of my computer for hours and received 2 to 3 calls per hour with really low contact leads, and they would all hang up on me. I used to make 100 to 300 calls per 6 to 8 hour shift, okay? 100 to 300 calls per hour, per 6 to 8 hour shift. Suddenly, I couldn't even get 20 calls in that same amount of time, and it was demoralizing. The issue with old leads is that when they recognize your number, many people will just block it. So yeah, it'll go to voicemail. But the other thing is that they'll recognize it and pick up and then hang up just to make the phone stop ringing. And that affects your rate. Now, when I saw another good sales rep go silent in the group chat, we'll call him Ed, I reached out to him. I was like, "What's going on?" And he said that Eva, the coach, who I had mentioned earlier, had asked him to stop using the dialer because he was not making sales. Like, she point blank told him not to use the dialer anymore. He was selling for 6 weeks at this point. He wasn't doing terrible. He didn't do the 10 sales that month like so many people don't do. He had paid $1,000 and he had gone through training. And like, she cut him off from the dialer. The state agency cut him off from the dialer. I didn't know that could happen. This goes against what they boast about their training program and how they will train you, even conveying so much that they would hold your hand. That's what I got. Like, "We will train you so much," right? He said that in one of his videos. I'm not going to go through all of his videos and pinpoint the time. I'm not. Take my word for it or not. With Ed, I had done some role playing with him. He gave me some tips that helped me. He has a lot of experience in the health insurance industry. I just don't think they gave him a fair chance. I mean, I think they should give you like a 90 days, like a good 90 days, and then let you go or something. I get, but he wasn't even given that. So, but frankly, what they did to him was way better than what they did to me. Right? Because for me, they sent me the signal by making me waste my time. I was on a different campaign. And when I asked Eva, like, "What's going on?" She said, "Oh, it's because there's so many sales reps on the dialer. They're always onboarding new sales reps. Every week there's new sales reps." And in the beginning, it worried me like, okay, so we're gonna dilute the leads, right? But I try not to think about it. And the first month, it didn't affect me. So what had happened is that they simply put me in a different campaign because I didn't do well in that weekend campaign, and I was very unlucky. So here's another, yeah, it was demoralizing to pay for toolkits, $30 a month. I'll have to get to that. And also to pay for errors and emissions, and then you're like not given a chance to make any more sales. It just wore me out until I gave up. Here's another fact, and I discussed this with a friend of mine who sells cars for a living. In any sales environment, when there are more sales reps, there are less leads to go around and less opportunity for you to make a sale. That's just the way it goes. Every week that I was there from the first week, again, there just would be another handful of new sales reps who paid $1,000 to be part of the agency. The fact is that Dig would accept anyone. There's no interview process to join Dig. Nope. You just fill out a form and it asks you a few questions and you get a response within a few minutes. So, don't hold your breath. You're gonna get in. You gotta be pretty dumb to answer that question in a way that they won't want you. Besides the $1,000 that you pay, you also pay for the errors and emissions insurance, which Dave did mention in his videos, but he didn't mention toolkits. Maybe he did recently. I haven't seen his videos in a while. The last time I watched his videos was like it was end of the summer when I stopped watching the videos. So he didn't tell you about toolkits, all right? You need toolkits. You need to subscribe to toolkits, which cost about $35 a month. It's not required, but if you're not going to use it, you're handicapping yourself big time. And you know what they promised in the training? That during your sales calls, they said that Tim or somebody would whisper. So let's say you're in a call, the stakes are high, and you need a lifeline. You go on Slack, like help, but nobody comes. Nobody's going to whisper in your ear. Ed told me that they did away with that because it doesn't work, which makes absolutely no sense. So if you're hoping that somebody's going to whisper in your ear, at least when I was there, they don't do it. Okay? They don't do it. Maybe they do it now. In conclusion, the Dig agency is not a scam in my experience. It's not technically a scam, but I understand why many people would call it one. My partner thinks it is. And I know many people who feel that way. But here's the thing. I've seen a few people succeed. I have. I've spoken to some sales reps who, they would give me tips and then they would text me and say, hey, you're not going to hear from me anymore because they moved me up into a different Slack channel. Here's my number. Here's my email if you have any more questions. Okay. So, and I've seen people really kill it 1 month and their Slack channel their account would just be deactivated because for me, it was a sign that they moved up. But here's what these highly successful sales reps have in common, okay? What they have in common is, one, they've all had a background in insurance sales, okay? One. Or maybe some sort of sales. But from what I've seen, again, this is my experience, they've all had experience in insurance sales. Two, they're really, 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 really good. Really, really, really good. And if you're really, 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 really good, you might have a chance there. And just show your numbers to Dave and be like, I don't want to pay your $1,000. I just want to work for you. I don't know, that might work out for you. And three, they got invited to a weekend campaign and they got lucky. People answered. All right. And you know what else helps is having energy to put up with a lot of nonsense. What finally broke me were the chargebacks. There was barely any training on the chargebacks when I was there. In the videos, there was barely any training. And I And then they realize that. And so Tim would be like, oh, by the way, and Eva too, by the way, remember, once you make a sale, follow this process so that they pay their premiums and they don't cancel on you, right? So pay attention to the Slack channel. But I just feel like that part of training of chargebacks, not integral. Selling final expense life insurance is tough. And I think they sell other types of insurance as well. It's not just final expense. But they make it out to be like, this is where you should start. And it's really hard. It's really hard because you're talking to seniors. And these seniors, I mean, you're asking for their sensitive health information, for their medications, the dosage, how long they've taken it for. And there could be like a dozen medications that you need to fill out. You could be on a call for 20, 40, even an hour. So that's one. The other sensitive information that you have to get them to share with you is their social security number. Now, interestingly enough for me, I never got someone to not give me their social security number. Like, okay, I can't believe, that just happened. But, people do struggle with that. It's hard. And here's the third sensitive information that you need to get is the bank draft. Yeah, some insurance carriers do accept other forms of information. But if you really want that payment to stick, you've got to ask for a bank draft. I'm talking about a routing number and an account number. It's not for the faint of heart. So in conclusion again, in my experience, the dig agency, in my opinion, the dig agency is full of broken promises. I don't recommend it. I do not recommend it. Just run. Look for something else. I know it exists out there. But if you are already in the dig agency, you're there for 2 months and it's happening to you too, then share your experience in the comments. Maybe I'll make another video addressing those concerns. That's it for now. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share with a friend, and drop your questions below.